Live from the Talking Joe studios,
it's Talking Joe with Chief and Chris. Hey, it's me, the Chief. I'm joined as always by my buddy
Chris, aka Diagnosticated from the Full Force and Talking Joe. How are you doing, sir?
Well, let's get straight into it. I think we're gonna... I feel bad. I feel bad for the listeners. I feel bad for everyone involved because, again, just like last week, straight off the bat, we've got to go
inside Chief's mind.
Go for it.
I don't want to scare people off again 2 weeks in a row. Bear with me, I'm going to try and keep this as concise as possible, and at the end of it, I'm going to let you decide what was getting on, my goat, grinding my gears this week. So, I have been under the weather. Last sort of 4 or 5 weeks I've had a cold, I've also had a cough. I went to the GPs and got prescribed some antibiotics, a 7-day course of amoxicillin 3 times a day, if you please.
Right.
And that course finished last Thursday. Now, also, quick note to the readers, we're actually recording this on Sunday. We would normally record on a Wednesday to put it live on we're drawing back the curtains. Inside, not only Chief's mind, but inside Chris and Chief's world.
Inside Chief and Chris's curtains.
Yeah, peering inside. Don't look, you might not like what you see. But, we've normally recorded on a Wednesday, released on a Thursday, but I, as always, gave Chris about 5 minutes notice. This morning would have been about, I guess, 8 a.m. his time, when I messaged him saying, oh yeah, by the way, I don't think I can record this Wednesday, so when are you free? And he said, today, because that's the kind of guy he is. He has no life. No, I tell you, I figure he was just, loves to record, so he was up for it. So anyway, we're recording on very short notice, but Sunday, like I said, so the course of antibiotics finished on Thursday. The GP, had said to me, if the symptoms haven't cleared up, the chest tightness and the coughing, then go and get a chest x-ray. And here's a printed off form. You can just go to a walk-in clinic and do that. So on the Friday, the symptoms had not cleared up, and I couldn't go to the walk-in centre. There's actually a close one to me 5 minutes away because I was going to a funeral on the Friday. Actually, a quick tip of the cap to my great-uncle Mick, who passed away recently. His funeral, aged 84. In fact, he wasn't even my great-uncle. It's one of those ones where it's my mum's cousin, but because the age gap between me and him was like 40 years, so I guess he would be my second cousin. I think that's how it works. But because the age gap was like 40 years... to me, he was always Uncle Mick.
Makes sense.
So he's one of those aunties or uncles who aren't really your aunties or uncles. But yeah, I went to his funeral. He's 84. Really nice funeral. I learnt a few things when my actual uncle, my mum's brother, went to his house last week to tidy up a few bits and pieces. In one of his cupboards, he found a jar full of teeth.
Wow.
Of all things. And apparently, great Uncle Mick never went to the dentist, used to pull all his own teeth out and kept them in a jar.
Wow.
And then my real Uncle Billy buried them outside next to the apple tree for some reason. So,
is there a teeth tree growing there now?
Whoever's in that house next, when they dig up that in like 5-10 years, what the hell's gone on here? Dead bodies everywhere.
They're going to think it's a burial ground.
Yes, correct. But yeah, tip of the cap to Uncle Mick. But anyway, back to the story. So I couldn't go to the walk-in centre on Friday. Saturday, my parents visited to see the granddaughter, so, wasn't really an opportunity. And then today I woke up, my chest really tight, and the missus said, look, you need to see if you can get a walk-in appointment. So in the UK, we've got this thing called dial 111, and it's call handlers, and they try and get you an out-of-hours doctor's appointment. And obviously, because we've got the NHS over here, everything's free. They said, okay, fine, if you just need to go for an X-ray, you can go to Croydon, which is about 10 minutes down the road from me, and get your X-ray done in the hospital. So arrived at the hospital, found out later that this Croydon University Hospital used to be called Mayday Hospital, or as my wife, who is a nurse, not at that hospital, used to say, we used to call it May Die, because if you go there, There's a good chance you're not coming out. Apparently one of the worst hospitals in the UK.
Great.
And they recently changed their name, and you'll see why they had to quickly change this change, because they changed their name to the Croydon University NHS Hospital, NHS Trust. Now, if you just take NHS and just use the N, you can see the acronym for that is CUNT. So they decided we can't really have that, so they just changed it to the Croydon University Hospital.
Oh my goodness.
That is an admin error, right?
I hope someone got lost their job. No, in fact, I hope someone got promoted for that.
Just for the giggles, for the lulz.
Amazing.
So anyway, arrived there early this morning at about 8:30, I think it was. Got shuffled around like, 3 or 4 people, as you do, always, the receptionist, then a nurse, then someone else, go down through these. And everyone's just like, as if you should know where you're going. Go through these double corridors, turn left, turn right, see the grey door, wave at the rainbow, see the lucky leprechaun, then go round the corner, up the flight of stairs, and there you are. Yeah, as if you should, I can follow all those directions. But anyway, I managed to find my way to the X-ray area, and the woman on the reception said, "Oh no, this is not for this hospital." And I said, "Well, this is just a walk-in appointment from a GP." She said, "I can go anywhere." "Oh, you're not on my system." I was like, "Okay, can you add me to the system?" "Oh, well, okay, I'll try." All right, fine. So then, I sit down in the waiting room. There's only 2 other people there. I took some comics with me. I was reading War of the Realms, which is the current Marvel 6-part series about Thor and Dark Elf Malekith invading Midgard and everything. It's big crossover. It's not too bad. I was midway through issue 6, which is the final issue, when my name gets called, except they call the wrong name. They call my dad's name. And I was like, that's not me at all. Because I've got my dad's name as my middle name. So what they've done is, they've called, she's input the details wrong. So then I was mentioning that, and she said, "Oh, you have to wait till we correct it." Another half an hour. Finally go in, have my chest x-rayed, go back to the front reception, and I say, "Right, now can I see the out-of-hours GP?" "Oh, yeah, you have to take a seat." So I took a seat, waiting another half an hour.
Bloody hell.
Got in to see a nurse, does my blood pressure and all that. And then she says, "Okay, you can go back to the waiting area." I was like, "Where's the GP then?" "Oh, no, you've got to wait." I said, "How long's the wait?" She said, about 3 to 4 hours. I was like, "You're kidding me, right?" She said, "You'll be better off going to a out-of-hours GP." I said, "That's what I'm here for. I'm here to see an out-of-hours GP." "Oh, no, you're in the accident emergency area." Bloody hell. So I said, "How do I get an out-of-hours GP appointment?" She goes, "Oh, you've got to phone back up to 111 and they'll book one for you." So I was like, "Okay." So I phoned 111. They said, "Oh, no, because you've already phoned us earlier and we've kind of diagnosed and treated your case, we can't now book you an out-of-hours GP appointment because it's the same, you're reporting the same symptoms."
That's so
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Well, I'll report different symptoms. I've got a bad leg now. Get me a GP for that. So she said, "No, we can't do that, sir."
Absolute idiots.
So then I went back to reception and I said, "Look, is there an actual walk-in clinic somewhere?" And they said, "Yeah, there's a walk-in clinic about, 2 miles away." No, probably not even that, about 1 mile away. And I said, "Well, what's the wait time there?" She said, "I don't know, I'll phone them." She phoned them and I said, "Okay, what's the deal?" And she goes, "Oh, there's no one there." Oh, bloody hell. So I could have gone there in the first... Well, I wouldn't have got my x-ray then there, but I could have just gone straight there after the x-ray. So anyway, make my way over there, see the GP, and I was like, "I'm still got these symptoms." She's like, "Oh, yeah. I can't really hear anything in your lungs." So I was like, "Well, can you give me some antibiotics to, clear it up?" "Oh, no, I don't think we can do that." So at the end of it, she couldn't access the x-ray results. So at the end of it, I had an x-ray done that no one can access. I didn't even get the tablets. Then I had to come home, got home at about 1:30, left the house about 8. So it's 5.5 hours.
Well, at least you're fitter now, right?
Well. What was that you said?
Or not. Not, yeah.
So
Bloody hell,
there you
mate.
go. That's inside Chief's mind. Basically, the whole shebang is grinding my gears this week.
So basically, the blooming NHS is
Well, I'm never
going
going to slag off the NHS because you know what I mean. It's free health. Well, I suppose it comes out of our taxes.
As-
Bloody hell! Now I've pulled the ring pull on this bottle I'm about to drink and it's snapped off, and I can't even get into it.
Everything's coming up Millhouse today,
Oh my
Chief.
God.
Everything's coming up Millhouse.
Mate,
I was about to say, this is a new segment of the show. As with all new segments of the show, I give Chris no prior warning. It was going to be beverage of choice for the show.
Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Beverage for the show, do-do-do-do-do-do. Now I am gonna go, do-do, and drink my beverage for the show.
And each week we were going to have a new beverage that we never had before. And this week I've got Bundaberg ginger beer, Australian family owned,
interesting.
craft brewed over 3 days ginger beer.
Sounds
And it's
nice.
got a ring, it's a glass bottle with a ring pull metal top, and the ring pull has snapped off in my finger, leaving the metal top still in place. So I cannot even drink my Bundaberg.
Amazing.
Now I'm going to have to buy another one for next week's show?
Well, considering you've just sprung this on me now, I don't actually have a beverage of choice.
No,
right?
that's
So,
fine. It was just going
oxygen.
to be first show. I'll introduce a segment. I'll have one, and the next week we can have one each. But it turns out we're both going to have one next week, and that's going to be the first time. So there's another thing that's grinding my gears: stupid ring pulls on bottles that break off in your finger.
Is it kind of like a retro style then?
Oh my god, yeah, it's nice looking bottle. It's like a stubby 375 mils. Don't know what that is for the American listeners in ounces, but
$16 or something. I don't know.
Looks nice. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what it's like. Actually, tastes like next week. I'll put a picture up so people can have a look at what I didn't drink.
Amazing.
How are you?
Yeah, good. I feel like it not even worth saying what happened to me yesterday after all that, but I had this like thing called like the doctors have never been able to really work out what it is, but it is quite common in people, and it's a thing called exercise-induced migraine. And it's basically when you overexert yourself, you get this weird, they call it an aurora in your eyes, where I think the blood isn't getting to like the optic nerves, or it's basically being kind of like the back of your neck is like the muscle is like really contracting the blood flow into the brain. And basically what it does is it kind of makes this weird aurora effect in your eyes, and it lasts for about half an hour. Once that passes, so it's really weird. It's like looking through an imperfection in glass, so you can't focus on anything. It's really disconcerting, really uncomfortable. It's not painful at that point, but it's just annoying and very kind of, I don't know, always makes you feel a little sick. That passes, and then you get this huge migraine build as the blood pummels into your head, and you know, like the muscle relaxes in the back of your neck, and it just kind of flies in there, and that creates this horrible migraine, which kind of leads again to real intense nausea, and it kind of knocks me out for about 3 hours. Well, yesterday we had like family come over. This happened in the morning, and I wasn't even exercising. I wasn't even doing anything intensive. So it has happened before when I haven't done anything. It's in actual fact it's light sensitive sometimes, or most of the time as well. So I think I turned the light off in the bathroom and was looking directly at it, and so it kind of made this flash, and I walked over I was doing the laundry at the time, doing the washing, and all of a sudden I just noticed that I wasn't focusing in certain areas. I'm like, oh shit. So then I knew it was about to happen, so there's nothing I can do about it. I've tried numerous things. This kind of like weird, it's almost like a headache pain reliever tablet, which is kind of like a wafer which you put on your tongue and then it dissolves in. But they used to say take that as the symptoms show, and it should, negate the migraine. Never worked right. Ever. My body's always been one for completely rejecting Western medicine. It's always just been like, no, we're gonna get over it. You're gonna have to go through the and then come out the other end. That's just how it is. So I get this horrible bloody migraine all day. Family come over to, and I'm basically in bed till like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I kind of finally got out of bed. I have to try and sleep it off, because being awake during it is just absolute like agony. So, and it's not comfortable. Like, it's not like I get a good amount of sleep. I just have to like try and be like, unaware of what's going on the whole time. So eventually it doesn't pass either. So this morning, I've still got this headache, but it is definitely not as bad as it was. I don't have the nausea, and it's kind of, so there isn't that kind of relief afterwards. It's just this constant grind until it passes away. So yeah, I've got that still this morning, a bit kind of groggy, and so it was a bit of a waste of a day yesterday, and
grim.
Yeah, but today I'm kind of like, I'm determined to just do as much as I can. So
the last thing you wanted was Chief messaging at 8 a.m. saying, "Oh, we got to do the pod today."
maybe it was the first thing I wanted. Yeah, takes my mind off it. But it's just absolute crap. So I'm, I feel bad after the crap you went through, just to have moaning about like, a day's worth of loss for me. But no, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to hit these special missions up.
Good segue, because let's bring everyone's mood back up as we talk about some G.I. Joe comics.
Comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them. Whoa, comic talk, oh, comic talk. Larry Hama writes them, Chief and Chris discuss them. Whoa.
Special mission treat today. We've got 18, 19, 20 and 21.
Boom.
And we're starting with 18, which is called Extraction. This is the usual team: Hama, Trimpe, Mazinski, Felix and Yomtov. And cover here, we've got Snake Eyes creeping up on a couple of bodies on a
couple
platform.
of pirates.
Couple of pirates. And this is I like this, quite like this cover.
It's beautiful.
It lets you know that some bad shiz is going to go down. And this is actually a kind of epilogue piece to the Special Missions 15 and 16, where the guys were in Tibet and in the valley of the lost dying son of the Dragon Kingdom, or whatever it was called.
Yeah, Chomo Lungma, I believe.
That's it, yeah. You know it better than I do.
Yeah.
So the crew we've got here effectively is Chuckle, Snake Eyes, Scarlet and Iceberg, and they're going downriver, waiting to be extracted, and they end up in kind of a pincer thing, because we've got October Guard are on the scene, you've got Voltar and some Iron Grenadiers on the scene. They're supporting this, what's the bandit called? Big Tep, I think his name is.
We come across Big Tep and his band of, like, I don't know, the amount of political statements that get mentioned in this issue is quite dramatic. And then obviously he's been backed up by Destro and Mars and the Iron Grenadiers, and like he's getting all of the, you know, the weapons and the consultations from Voltar and the Iron Grenadiers. So they're basically, that's their side, and then the October Guard are with General Lom, who is the opposing forces in the region. And again, we're getting this kind of like situation where G.I. Joe are caught in the middle of this political mess, and they basically are reacting to the brutal attack on this poor farmer who is just getting his head kicked in and his hand shot by Big Tep's minions. What's interesting actually is there's a scene where one of the minions of Big Tep is hammering up a poster, a Big Tep Wants You poster, and he looks identical to the face, the Big Tep face on the poster. So I thought that was Big Tep when I was reading this the first time.
That makes
And then you find out later that Big Tep's not even anywhere near it. He's nowhere near it, and one of the Snake Eyes decides he's gonna help the old man, while the other guys are kind of umming and ahhing as to jurisdiction, and it's too dangerous for us, it's not our fight. They're having this conversation, and Snake Eyes just nips away and basically does a job on them all. Just murders them up. And then obviously the other guys have to react and retaliate and make sure they, cover Snake Eyes. Iceberg throws a grenade and takes out the boat. Scarlet shoots up someone else.
That Iceberg, he's basically about 100 metres away, and he lobs this grenade. It's a proper curveball, and it lands right in the boat. So
absolute beauty of a throw, isn't it?
Yeah.
Absolute cobbler. A peach cobbler. And then...
well, I like a peach cobbler.
So do I. And then, obviously, one of them gets away. The farmer and the Joes then start chatting away about, what is kind of... Basically, get all the kind of information starts flooding in then as to who Big Tep is, and what this farmer is in relation, and the fact that he's built this land over 10 years and built this amazing kind of, structure to irrigate his farm and grow crops and all this kind of stuff.
Get his water buffaloes on.
Exactly. And the poor bugger gets caught in the middle of this hideous fracas. And then so that he helps the Joes out. But then obviously we get the October Guard then, don't we? They join the fray.
So is he kind of there just to show that the common man gets caught in pretty much all struggles?
Well, he actually helps to basically fill out the history of the conflict, and that a lot of Big Tep's forces ended up, or I say Big Tep's forces. Big Tep is what I think was the result of this kind of upsurge. But basically, there was a hatred towards intellectuals. So all the teachers and all of the people that were deemed intellectual, and then people with glasses, were all killed. Wiped out. He was basically the last remnant of the intellectuals, but he became a farmer anyway because there was nothing left to do. And the funny thing is, he was not on the side, but his views were that the Western world were ruining their particular culture. And so he said it's funny they didn't even bothered to ask if I was on their side or not. So like he's been persecuted despite being of, that political viewpoint. So there's a lot of, again, loads of complexity here from Hammer. And all the Joes want to do is get an extraction out of this area. So they call in the extraction, and that will lead into the next issue, but the extraction team are like on their way, but in the meantime we get the October Guard.
Yeah, so then we see the October Guard, and I think who have you got here? You've got Dana and Colonel Brakov and Dragonsky. They're all there, aren't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
They're all there, and they're,
horror
like
show.
You said, horror show,
I love horror show, he's so dumb.
Yeah, he's quality.
Full Forsky!
They're advising General Lom, who wants to kind of crush these. As like you mentioned, there's quite a lot of political intrigue and a lot of grey lines. Like there's no really defined who the good guys or bad guys are.
Yeah.
Between these, obviously we know G.I. Joes are the good guys, but between these other two groups, and I kind of like the way the October Guard, for all their appearances, they've kind of straddled that line. They're effectively the Soviets, so by that nature they're kind of deemed to be the bad guys, but they're kind of like the honourable kind of section of their military, and you kind of root for the October Guard every time they're in the pages. Well, I do anyway.
They're like they're like the G.I. Joe but from Russia, and it's weird to say that because but I think that's the kind of thing that Larry tried to do as well with it. Like he didn't want to. Obviously, they're never going to be like proper allies. They're never going to be side by side unless they need to be, like unless they're forced to, which kind of happens the majority of the times that they're brought in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's always like the enemy of mine enemy is my friend kind of scenario, isn't it? Yeah.
I think their appearance here is worthwhile. I'm not sure about Voltar and the Iron Grenadiers. I don't know why. I don't know what they add to it. I mean, I know Big Tep needed a military force, but I don't know what Voltar and the Iron Grenadiers really added. Why it just couldn't be a general military force.
Yeah, like
were they shoehorned in or not? Or was there? Do you feel? Oh yeah, it's always nice to see some Iron Grenadiers and demons and stuff. But
for one, I think it's a case of we need to get these in the comic. We need these visual. We need these figures to be in there. But at the same time, I get what you're saying. Like in reality, they would just have weapons. I think they wouldn't have Iron Grenadiers and Voltar on the scene, because Voltar needs to be like next to Destro most of the time. Like he needs to be his right hand man. So I feel like it works with what Larry did here. I think, if you've got to get them in there, and this is a good way of doing it. It's like, well, you can be a consultant. It gets Voltar on the scene, and it shows you what his kind of tactical awareness is like. That's another thing. There's a lot of... And this is something actually in all of these issues that we're looking at today. Larry goes into absolute depth with strategy. And it's really interesting because, I mean, that takes... for him to kind of flesh a story out is one thing, but then to kind of like get all those details of, we're going to send, like heat signatures and all this stuff to kind of fool these guys and all that kind of stuff. And obviously that's later on, but in this one, it's all about positioning and, like the October Guard and General Lom, not the October Guard, General Lom crushes the guy's farm to get in like strategic position, and then it rains. And the rain... it obviously threatens all of the heavy artillery sinking into the mud, so they have to move again. But obviously, the Big Tep and his forces use the rain as because they know the region, an advantage for them. So then they start attacking, and I just think there's loads of strategy in here. And even Voltar talks about, don't let them get into the forest because then they'll be able to flank us and all this kind of stuff. And it's just like a lot goes into this, like a lot more than you think goes into this, that you just, you can sometimes read past and not really take into consideration. But yeah, there's loads of stuff like that in this issue. Yeah.
Really nice panel towards the end where it's all coming to a conclusion here, and Big Tep's got the old farmer dude. He knows he's hiding. I know you're hiding the G.I. Joes because you've got secret caches where you hide your rice from the tax collector and all that sort of stuff. And he's about to shoot him, and then Tep and his two lackeys fall down dead, and then three Joes burst out of the roof, Scarlet, Iceberg and Snake Eyes. That's a really cool panel where they kind of just laying down fire. And then, as with a lot of stories recently from Larry, they all kind of just wrap up in either two, or in this case just a single page, because we're in the middle of a firefight and then the final page just says later at the top. And you're led to believe that the two forces have either retreated or wiped each other out. They're just waiting for the extraction, and then they say to the old man, come with us, and he goes, no, this is my land and this is where I'll stay, etc. And then you see what looks to be possibly a tomahawk coming down to pick them up, and then this actually segues, which I couldn't remember at the time, into issue 19, which tells the story of how that tomahawk got to the extraction site. Before
we get to that story, though, you mentioned there that it wrapped up so quickly and we don't know what happened, but what does happen is that the Iron Grenadiers chase General Lom's forces, so they basically give chase with the retreating force.
Yeah, of course they do.
So they're taken away from the battlefield, and obviously Big Tep is left behind with a couple of other guys of his crew to threaten the old man. So it's really a case of them, basically clearing out. The Joes obviously clean up all of the rest of the dead bodies, and that later just insinuates that those forces have disappeared off into their chase. And
I forgot that General Lom actually got capped off, didn't he?
Yeah, he got killed. Yeah,
I forgot about that. Yeah, I mean, what are you thinking here? Do you want to? Now that I think about it, do we rank this as a single issue, or do we rank 18 and 19 as one? Well, I mean, I guess they kind of are separate, really.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think they're two separate stories. They just link together in a symbiotic way. But I would say that they can definitely be, done as separate issues.
Yep. Okay. Well, you fire away first, my friend. What are you giving it?
I really, really enjoyed this. Again, although it's one of those issues where Joe is minimal. They do their bit at the beginning and kind of at the end, but for the most part, it's about the history of what's been going on in the area, October Guard, General Lom, and the Iron Grenadiers and Big Tep. So there's this kind of there's loads of nice little cute reveals like that. It's like, the reveal that Voltar and Destro are on Big Tep's side is like, oh, cool. And then it's like, the October Guard are on General Lom's side. Oh, amazing. And then the Joes again get caught in the middle of it, come out smelling of roses, as they always do. Yeah. And again, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good issue, fast-paced, full of action. Had lots going for it. So I'm gonna pop it in like a very solid, a very high 7.
High 7. I have of these 4 issues I'm reading, I'm giving 3 of them 7s. One is going to be a low 7, one's going to be a medium 7, one's going to be a high 7, and then another issue which will not be scoring a 7. And this particular one is the medium 7. It's a mid 7 for the Chief.
Good shout.
Moving on to issue 19, and this is called Getting There. And this is, I think it's the same crew here, Harmer, Trimpe, Mazinski, Felix and Yomtov. And like I mentioned previously, this is the journey of the Tomahawk all the way from the USS Flag to the extraction point to rescue the G.I. Joe team there in Thailand. Cover here, this is an Andy Kubert cover.
Beautiful.
I think this is second one. He's got quite a few more coming up. Smudger on Instagram was mentioning actually he didn't know that Andy Kubert did covers. He did cover to Real American Hero 91, which we covered on the last episode. And he was curious to know if there's more. And I think I dug up that there's about another sort of 7 or 8 Andy Kubert covers across Special Missions and Real American Hero coming up. So I'm a big fan of his X-Men stuff, so I always enjoy his covers here. So this is Muskrat with his shotgun pointing out the side of the Tomahawk, firing at. We don't really know who this is yet, but we find out later in the episode. It just looks like a kind of a pilot. You can't really tell from that cover whether it's a helicopter pilot or an airplane, but good action shot.
That's beautiful. And like you say, if you don't want to give any spoilers away, it's we do find out. But yeah, very awesome cover. And again, this kind of stuff does happen in the issue, so I'm again a big fan of that. I don't know why I have to keep saying it every time. I'm just not a fan when the cover doesn't match what happens inside. Right. With the obvious exception of like variants and retailer incentive covers, but like if the main cover doesn't do exactly what it says on the tin, then forget it. Also, that's a British colloquialism. Ron Seal does exactly what it says on the tin.
This is Ron Seal Quick Drying Wood Stain. You can't miss it. It comes in a tin with Ron Seal Quick Drying Wood Stain on it. It protects and it's rainproof in about 30 minutes. Which means in about 30 minutes, your wood's rainproof and protected. So if you've got wood to stain and you want it to dry quickly, use Ron Seal Quick Drying Wood Stain. It does exactly what it says on the tin.
Yes, getting there. So we start on the USS Flag.
Yeah, and this is, I'm assuming you like this crew here, Repeater, Muskrat, Lifeline.
100%. Beautiful.
Lift Ticket, Wild Bill. Good crew.
Great crew. Tomahawk is a massive favourite of mine.
Take a look at the new G.I. Joe Tomahawk.
Look, Cobra's attacking the All-Striker. Tomahawk to the rescue!
Tomahawk Tomahawk holds 8 Joes and it's loaded for battle.
Yo, Joe!
Tomahawk's gonna chase some Cobra. Tomahawk is on the go. Tomahawk's gonna chase some Cobra and rescue G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe!
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe Tomahawk. Other Joe and Cobra figures sold separately.
Yo, Joe!
I'm not going to be talking about it in Chris Talks Toys, so I'll stop you right there. But
Interesting. I thought you would have been, but
no,
okay.
but I will because obviously the Tomahawk comes up pretty much in every issue, so I get my opportunity again. But and it will be talked about because it's an absolute stunner. But I have to say that I love these stories, and this is more a special missions than the previous one. Now I know I gave it as high 7, but that's mainly because of the story. As a special mission, you've got a lot of Joes in there that are just General Joes, not to be confused with General's Joes by Justin Bell. But you've got Snake Eyes that just fits in any mission. Scarlet, who again does the same thing. And Chuckles, who seems to be kind of in a lot of these covert ops, right, for obvious reasons. And then you've got Iceberg, who's a winter specialist.
You could have chopped and changed those, couldn't you? Really, they like you said, their specialist skills weren't necessarily key to the mission they were on previously in the Valley of the Hidden Drunk Monkey Master and this extraction thing. But I think what you're going to go on to say is the Joes that are on this particular rescue mission is a good choice of skill sets.
Yeah, and also we get like a good rounded team for an extraction mission. You've got like Lifeline rescue trooper. You've got Muskrat, who again is kind of a versatile guy, but you're more than likely going to use him in a swamp setting. But here he's just good to have on hand as a grunt. Repeater, heavy machine gunner, and obviously you've got your crew, your Lift Ticket and Wild Bill, who, let's face it, are probably the best in the business when it comes to extraction and they're the top level pilots for the helicopters and the C-130, in my opinion. Agree.
And like you said, it does feel more special mission-y because even from just taking off, they're given sealed orders which they can't open till the USS flag's not in sight. They're carrying all this extra fuel. So they can make the journey, and that kind of feels like something's going to come into play there. Are they? What's going to happen with this fuel? You kind of get a feeling that they're going to run low at some point. Yeah,
they hit a lot of kind of speed bumps almost immediately as they get as they kind of hit the coast. They're talking about I prefer doing these missions because the enemy don't have the kind of weaponry that's going to kind of hurt us, but lo and behold, the enemy do have decent radar installation. They track them as they come. They're obviously flying very low on the water, but as they get to the coast, they have to get some altitude, and that obviously they end up blipping on the radar. And then they come under heavy fire at the... Is it a dam? I believe it's like some sort of...
It is a dam, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a cool shot there where they get bracketed.
Yeah.
And they're all blacked out, and then they get lit up. And just before that, really nice panel, I like where Repeater's pouring Wild Bill a coffee. And I love Wild Bill's tash.
Yeah, it's a beauty,
It's like got shape to it.
It's a beauty.
It's a real, that is a great panel, just to showcase off a proper cowboy tash.
Wild Bill has got some of the most personality in a G.I. Joe design, hasn't he? And that's saying something for that line, really. Yeah.
Yeah, love some Wild Bill. But yeah, like you said, they're just getting nailed all over the shop here.
It's amazing how much damage this Tomahawk takes and still keeps going.
Yeah, it's already been shot up massively, and it's a smoking trail, and then later on it gets hit by exploding rockets and stuff. Nice little kind of, I like this interlude, and this is quite clever to break up the kind of non-stop action and just getting from point A to point B.
Yeah.
They've lost their compass, so they see a
junker. Is it like a little boat?
Junker? Yeah, it's kind of like they're not. Are they smugglers? Yeah, I think they're probably smugglers. And Lifeline, pops down, and they do a bit of parlay and they do a bit of trade. And he manages to swap his G.I. Joe digital watch, which looks pretty high tech.
I want that
for a compass. Yeah, I want that. And it's kind of just a nice little interlude to break up what's going on.
That reminds me of the Action Force watch that you could get as a mail-away offer on one of the early leaflets, like the kind of figure leaflets at the bottom. It had like all like the fan club stuff, and It had the watch and everything. And funnily enough, I did pick one up recently. Well, recently, probably about 3 years ago now. But when I was at my mate Dave Tree's shop, all the cool stuff, like about quite a while back, he had a box again full. Like I told the story about him having loads of Moutons. He also had. I might have said it actually then, but he had like about 30 of these mail-away watches that he managed to get overstock of. None of them work, and you can't actually get in to change the battery. That's the really sad thing about it. There's no screw area, but it just looks really cool, like to have a camouflage, watch with no readout with Action Force written on it.
Nice. I wonder if you could. Yeah, I suppose if you jimmied it open, you're probably going to have to super glue it back somehow. But
I guess there's a way of doing it, and you could probably get it done at a specialised watch repair shop and stuff. They could probably bust it open and then reseal it or something. Yeah.
Well, we'll find an image. We'll stick an image up so people can know what we're talking about there.
True that.
Back to the action. Then we see what this cover is all about, and this is a pilot of a hind. I don't know, is it a hind D or a hind E? I'm not really too up on my hinds.
Yeah, the hind D's.
Hind D's. There's a pair of them.
D's nuts.
Yeah, there's a pair of them, and the Joes kind of fly between them. And then there's, nice little bit of comedy. The guys say, "Oh, that could be the October Guard helicopter. I hear that Dana's a real looker." And obviously they got to look at Wild Bill, and he does not look like a fine-looking lady like Dana. So they then just realise, it's a twin rotor configuration. It must be the G.I. Joe Tomahawk, because there's no other possible helicopters with twin rotors. So anyway, they engage, and again, more firefight and real good action scenes here.
Yeah, and we get a repeater kind of unloading as well, which looks really cool out the side of the chopper. We get this amazing kind of dogfight, which again, G.I. Joe comics I find are at their best when we see aerial combat. Like they really are so much fun to read when there's like a fighter pilot kind of battle, or in this case helicopters, and it's just real, just loads of beautiful scenes. There's some, they didn't have to do loads and loads of jungle background, but there's some great shots where you're looking out from under the canopy at the helicopter battle, and you're looking down on them flying over the trees. And I just think there's some real beauty here in the panels, and it flows well. You can follow it. It's not confusing. But yeah, there's loads of exposition to kind of keep you up to date with what's happening, and it's just great. I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, great stuff. And he mentions repeater kind of early on in that firefight that he's got special ammo. He doesn't actually explain what that special ammo is till later.
Yeah.
And because he says on page 15, he says Muskrat says, "Oh, you're wasting your time." And he goes, "Oh, it's special ammo." And then later on, he says, "I'm going to find the bit where he."
It's crazy, man. It just keeps going on. It's like one of the longest explanations, isn't it? Was it discarding mini Sabo, ultra velocity, armor piercing ammo, depleted uranium core, jacketed with Teflon coated, tempered titanium steel, manufactured with pride in the US of A.
Boom! There you go.
Crazy.
Love it.
What does he call them? What's the nickname? XM321, I think it is.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. Again,
quality.
Specialist. We're seeing specialists doing what they do best, and I think that is what Special Missions is all about, and what it should be about. And so I think this hits on all of my happy places. And also, just prior to that, we get them. They take out they go into that cavern, which is really dangerous for a helicopter, may I add.
Yeah.
One of them follows it in there. They let off flares, which blind the two pilots. They fire a missile, blow it up, and what's crazy about this is you see the two pilots, like one of them jumping out and one of them trying to escape, but you don't know what happens to them. I mean, they're probably dead, but at the same time, that's quite an intense panel, isn't it? Yeah,
definitely. It's it's got everything really, this issue. It's also got I think you mentioned from the first issue, there's some nice little speeches, which is kind of a Larryism by the bad guys. And here you get the helicopter pilots when they're trying to go back and take the helicopter back when they realise the Joes are going to siphon the fuel. And it's "Stop you running dog of the oppressive class and crypto-fascist enemy of the proletariat."
Again,
the other guy says, "Yes, what he said." Quality.
And then Peter just shoots into the ground in front of them, and they bugger off.
Yeah.
What's funny is that he basically says, "Get lost," and they're like, "Why are we running? Why are we running, Misha? Didn't he say glasnost?" He says there was something in his tone.
Yeah.
So we know that's we know that guy. One of those guys is called Misha.
Yeah.
We also get an injury or two. So Lifeline gets capped, a little like kind of a little trim on the shoulder, and Muskrat gets one in like right in the blooming. Looks like from the back going through all the way out of his clavicle.
Good panel, really good panel that, yeah.
Yeah, really harsh shot. So he's patching Muskrat up, and then he even mentions, well, there's not going to be anyone to patch any of us up if we don't plug those fuel holes that are, all the gas is escaping from.
Yeah.
So again, like a couple of things happen. Lifeline has to show his specialty, which is great. Muskrat becomes the one that gets hit, so he does kind of serve a purpose in this. I know that's a bit harsh to say because he was, he's a great soldier and he's brilliant, and I love Muskrat anyway. But in terms of specialists for this mission, it's funny that he gets hit. So the heavy machine gun is fine. The two important, well, I say the helicopter pilots are fine, but even Lift Ticket gets injured as well, doesn't he?
Yeah. I think Wild Bill. Is he the only one who gets a repeater? Yeah, those two. I guess
Wild Bill and
away.
Repeater are the only two that get away without getting hurt. They finally get to the extraction point. Like they hobble to the extraction point, or like literally on almost the whole thing is in smoke. It's really funny, isn't it? There's loads of
quality,
and the guys jump in, and I think Iceberg is basically having a go, saying, "Oh, I don't know. All you guys do is." Take a ride and enjoy the scenery, and then when he gets on the chopper, he sees everyone in the back all injured and strapped up, and he's like, he's like, he says, "Hey, it's good to see you," says Muskrat. And he says, "Even with my foot in my mouth," and he says, "It's definitely you." And I just, it's just really good. It's a cracking issue, man. Like it's a stonker.
Great issue. I'm actually revising. I got it wrong. The first one, my first one, I said was a mid 7. That was actually the low 7.
Oh, okay.
And this one is actually the high 7.
Okay, sure.
So I got that wrong, but so you're going an 8 for this.
You know me so well after just 4 episodes or 3 episodes. Yeah, I'm definitely giving this an 8. It's just
I think this is episode 7.
Really?
Yeah, maybe even 8.
Flies by, doesn't it? I think it's because we do it weekly and it happens so often. But yeah, it's just so it ticks all of my boxes. We've got a lot of not of fringe characters. Well, I suppose we've got a lot of the roster being utilised, and we get to see them in action doing their thing, and it just ties together really nicely. It's loads of aerial stuff which I really love too. So 8. Yep.
Good stuff. Moving on to issue 20. This is called Snowblind. Just check we've got the usual crew. Yep, Harmer, Trimpe, Mazinski, Felix and Yomtov. And cover here, you've got Snowjob leaping over a wolf with a Toxo Viper and a Ice Viper driving that, and he's got his skis and his satchel and his
satchel charge
poles, satchel charge. Yep, good dynamic cover here.
Yeah, really like it. I mean, I think it's a lot of fun, a lot going on, really dynamic, and shows off a lot of the action that goes on in this issue.
Yep. So this is the Joe Snow team, if you will. You've got Snowjob, Avalanche, and Frostbite. I think it's just those 3, isn't it?
Correct.
And they're kind of investigating the October Guard feature again. And they're doing some kind of ice survey or probes, whatever. And there's also Cobras on the scene, big chases, action, and Joe's just want to investigate what really is going on.
I like that October Guard vehicle. I'd like to see that customised into.
Oh, the one on the front page.
Yeah, because you could do like an APC.
Yep.
And then basically kind of customise the front section to have, like the Snowcat or even the Cobra Wolf ski kind of axles. I know I'm saying it's very like it's easy to do, but I think that would be a really cool custom. If it probably does exist out there somewhere, but I think that is an absolute stonker of a vehicle.
Yeah, because this is probably the only time we actually see that vehicle, I guess.
I think so. Yeah, they had a different one in that first time they turned up, didn't they?
Yeah. So here the October Guard they're not being advisors or anything to any other foreign nations. This is actually a Russian mission, I guess.
Yeah.
And because where are they? They're it's Alaska on the frozen the Bering Strait between Alaska and the USSR.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a good issue. I mean, they pretty much showcase the snow-based skills of both teams well here, the Cobras and the G.I. Joes.
Yeah, I like the fact that we get Wild Bill again, but instead of having Wild Bill and Lift Ticket as we had in the previous issue, we get Slipstream with the C-130, and I think that I think that's like a good combo as well for the C-130, because obviously Slipstream being a fighter pilot effectively.
Yeah.
might be more at home in the cockpit of a bigger plane like that.
Who's the guy on issue 9 who's opening the bay doors?
Airborne?
For the Snowcat. Is that Airborne? Okay. He does look a bit airborne-ish, but I don't think he's name-checked anywhere, is he?
No, Larry seemed to put Airborne in the back of the C-130 or in the back of any kind of cargo plane for, like, that was like the thing that would happen. And I think that is just Airborne, yeah.
Yeah, cool. I like Airborne. That's a good, nice touch. Snowcat. I don't know if we've seen it much in the G.I. Joe comic. Obviously, there was that really cool story arc in Action Force with Quick Kick in Snowcat.
Yeah.
That probably predates this as well, because this is April 89, and that Action Force story came out in late 87, I'm going to say, because it was around issue 14 of Action Force. The Action Force comic came out in, March 87, and it was around issue 14 where that Snowcat featured, so it was probably late 87 where we saw the Snowcat in action in Action Force. And this is obviously 89, so, features heavily here and does a great job. Love the Snowcat.
Yeah, it's wicked.
Actually, you see here, I've moved on a few pages, you actually see that vehicle that we both like, that Soviet vehicle, firing some rockets. It's got skis on the front. That is a cool-looking vehicle, man. And
it's wicked.
The Joes kind of team up with the October Guard, as happens with many of their appearances, and these wolves, the Cobra wolves, there's 3 of them, or there was 5, I think. 2 of them got taken out, 3 of them are fleeing, and then they go into a single file, which kind of disguises they're riding single file to hide their numbers.
These tracks are side by side. Sand people always ride single file to hide their numbers.
And so they try following them, and then they realise they've got to flank them. And this is kind of the special missions bit, like you were talking about with strategy.
Yeah, tons of strategy in this.
Flanking, etc. And do we ever actually find out, because the Joes want to find out what the Cobras are doing there, do we actually find out what the Soviets were actually, what they were doing? We're talking about the issue anyway. So basically, a Cobra terrordrome pops out of the out of the ice towards the end of the episode. So maybe the October Guard and the Soviets were there. They'd found some readings around the area of something under the ice, and maybe they were there just trying to search it to find out what it was. Maybe I just didn't. I read the issue about an hour ago and I've forgotten already. Have I? I don't know how you hide a terrordrome under the. How did they build it? How did they build a terrordrome underwater in the Arctic?
While Bill and Slipstream are talking, and one of them says the lead BTR is fitted with a multiple rocket launcher rack, but the others seem to be carrying ice core samplers and other measuring devices.
That's it,
Could be that they're actually on a legit ice survey mission. Sure, Wild Bill, I suppose it would be mighty useful for Ivan to know just how big an armoured column the ice could support at this time of the year. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. I think they've got rumblings of some activity under the ice shelf, and that's where they're there. And then, so basically this Cobra terrordrome pops up from out of under the ice. So are we led to believe that this was built underwater?
Could well be.
And then just cracks up through the ice, and then I don't know how it's come up through the ice, and then it doesn't just sink straight back down, because it's surely not sitting. Now it's not sitting on anything.
I'm guessing
floating, so it's got a big flotilla.
I'm guessing that this is, again, it's just for effect, isn't it? It's just to show how ridiculously dangerous and big Cobra is as an organisation, as a villainous organisation. And this has like very big James Bond feels to it, but like it does. That's
a good shout. Spy Love Me.
It does have the James Bond kind of connotations to it, and in my head I could imagine it being securely clamped to some sort of hard base, right? Then there's water, and then there's an ice shelf. So that's what I think. It's just like if you remember in that hideous movie, Rise of Cobra, where they're all underwater in like wherever they are in the ice. It kind of screams to me something like that, and then they would just raise it up, and it would just bust out of the ice shelf. Seems pointless to me, but again, quite cool. Maybe it's a good hiding place. They drop it down again, and the ice forms again. So maybe it's a decent way of hiding it.
I like the fact that the bad guys, the Cobras, the Toxo Vipers and the Techno Vipers, there's a bit of beef. They never call anyone by name. They just say Techno Viper or Toxo Viper or number one, number two, and the Techno Viper doesn't do very well, and we've got to leave this to the Toxo Vipers. Maybe if I do well, I'll become a CG.
Yeah.
I kind of like that sort of stuff going on. But they made a foolish mistake, these Cobras in the Terradrome, and they left the door open, which enables the G.I. Joes to launch the one remaining ski missile from the Snowcat, and it launches it along the ice, up the ramp, into the Terradrome, and boom, how's your father? So to speak. Kaboo, Kathoom.
Is that going to be on the colloquialism segment? Yeah, that is an absolute beauty, and away it goes. I'm surprised that one missile did so much damage.
Yeah, and it looks small on that explosion. I'm not too happy with the size of that explosion of the Terradrome blowing up.
Yeah, there's a lot of big pieces there. It's not as detailed as you'd want it to be, is it? It looks like a toy blowing up, really.
Yeah, and then the relevant team's pickup comes, Wild Bill in the C-130, and the Orlan wing and ground effect, whatever that is, to pick up the October Guard. And that's it. Wild Bill's like, I hope you boys are going to be able to explain yourself. And Snowjob and Frostbite and Colonel Breakov. I think we've got pretty good references to vouch for one another. Well, not really, but
yeah, you don't at all. It's the October Guard. Yeah. But yeah, it's again like a good specialist kind of issue. Again, very entertaining. Enjoyed the kind of strategic battle and the chase between the wolf and the cat. I think that a good solid issue.
Yeah, I'm going mid-7 for this one.
I'm also going mid-7 for this one. Yeah, agreed.
Let's move on to our final one then of this week, and this is called The Lower Depths. This is Special Missions 21. Cover here, we've got Tunnel Rat in the middle, we've got Airtight on the right, we've got a new character not seen in the comics yet. This is Spearhead and his Bobcat Max.
Aww.
And he's kind of shining a flashlight towards the reader. I mean, the covers, I wouldn't say it was anything special. It's I guess it's indicative of what happens in the mission. These three of those are underground in a sewer. So,
yeah, I noticed Charbrawl wasn't included on that cover either.
And Charbrawl's part of the team, yes, but he's not on the cover. Usual crew, Harmer, Trimpe, Mazinski, Felix and Yomtov. And here, the G.I. Joes are underneath the New York City sewer. They've been alerted to a Cobra presence, and they do indeed find Cobras who are attaching certain gas canisters to the walls under the sewer, and they've also got bad intentions in mind, but you'll never guess what their ultimate plan is as you start the issue.
Yeah, I feel like the Special Missions is just an excuse for Cobra to win every time.
Yeah, that's kind of true. G.I. Joe never really come out on the winning. Quite often they get not a tail between their legs, but they get to end the mission. No one really gets hurt, a few people got shot in the last one, but the one before. But they never really. It's not a big Yojo party at the end of every special mission for the Joe team, is it? It's definitely we didn't win, we didn't lose, but we just came out of it. And Cobra could always come off the best.
It's quite a good element of realism in the comics, even though at times it's completely ridiculous. It's certainly not as ridiculous as the Sumbo cartoon, which I love as well, by the way. But at the same time, like the issues in Larry, he always tried to keep it grounded in some way. And I think by having them not Victor every single issue, kind of gave it more credence and a little bit more, respect from the actual readers. Kind of like, you're not being dumbed down to. This is not just the hero wins at the end. It's like there's a lot of complexity, a lot of stuff to learn. And the way Hammer wrote these things for kids, it's like, damn, you were getting history lessons as well, like each time. And you could then, it made me want to learn more about this stuff. Yeah. Like it made me want to go out and find out what, all of this stuff meant in terms of, just the words on their own. A lot of the time, he's got one hell of a vocabulary.
Correct, yeah. I mean, I'm going to flat out say this is my least favourite of the four we've read so far.
Yeah, I mean, there's an element of silliness to it.
I think that is the silliness. I don't like Spearhead and Max. I don't like the fact that there's a Bobcat on the G.I. Joe team.
Yeah.
This opening page is really, really good, though. I like the fact that, the Joe team in the background kind of wading through the sewer with their flashlights. In the foreground, you've got these rats on a barrel. And then in the background, you've got Charbroil, who's kind of... Is he... I'm not really... again, my only exposure to him is through the comics, and he doesn't really show up much. Never had the figure, don't know anything about him outside of the comics. But he's portrayed in this issue to be a real kind of history nerd. Is that part of his file card? He's reading, I Love New York tour guide in the first few pages, and he's all about, the location and the history behind it and stuff. But
they only go on about his, love for open flames in the original, in, the bio card. It's all, talk about, he would heat the... I don't know, the what are they called? Like the pipes in the family basement or something along those lines.
Okay.
And he would heat them in the winter as a child, and make sure they didn't freeze and all that kind of stuff. And then something about when they asked him what job he wanted, he was like, anything with fire or anything with flames and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right. We see Xandar here. We haven't seen Xandar since, God, I don't know, probably at least 2 or 3 years.
Lieutenant Joe Fact here. Chief incorrectly stated we had not seen Xandar in the comic for approximately 3 years. Of course, we saw him with his sister Zorana at the Scam Conference and during Civil War. Chief, drop and give me 20. Now back to the show.
In the Real American Hero, because I guess, when you've got a large cast of that family, you've got, I think Larry preferred using Zanzibar Zorana much instead of Xandar, but
plus it's like it's not a big mission. Like that's the other thing. Like Cobra are using their fringe characters for this particular mission because they know that it's not super important. It's like something that Zorana's in charge of, which we find out a little bit later on.
Yeah. I mean, Zorana's quality. Xandar doesn't really do anything. He didn't need to be there really, I guess, but just chuck more characters in. But they find all these canisters on the wall, and it's handily got a Cobra symbol on it, so they they left it behind. They do a quick test, and it's not nerve gas. And then it gets a bit weird because they find this kind of underground. It made it feel like something out of X-Men, like the Morlocks under the city, or maybe a Daredevil.
Had Turtles vibes for me.
Turtles vibes, yeah, because they find this pristine kind of underground sanctum, which is being, there's a load of guys who don't want nothing to do with the Upworlders or whatever, and they're led by this old Sarge who's smoking a pipe which is straight out of Popeye.
Yeah,
and he's ex-army, but he doesn't want to have anything to do with the modern military or anything. It's just, I don't know, it's just a bit overly. G.I. Joe is silly anyway, but it's just kind of went a step too far for me, this issue.
No, I agree. And then obviously they utilise the Sarge to kind of help them find, they kind of talk him into helping them find find the Cobra guys that kind of went through that area of the sewer. Yeah. And he kind of reluctantly kind of obliges, takes them on, leads point, and then they come across like an albino alligator or an albino crocodile. I can't remember which one it is. Alligator. And it's like, they talk about, kids used to flush these down the toilet and some of them survived, and it's like, okay, cool. So, just it seems a bit pointless because nothing really comes of it.
They get the Sarge back on side because he doesn't want anything. He's like, leads them to the Cobras. He says, right now, do your stuff. I'm out of here. But they kind of get him back on side because they need to get an exit strategy. So they convince him that he is required, and help us get out of it quick. Only you can do it. So that steals him a little bit. And then, he kind of does a 180 effectively because Buzzer's chucked a grenade down, and the Sarge has thrown himself onto the grenade to take the hit for the Joes. It turns out to be a dud grenade, but the guy's had a heart attack anyway and dead.
I know, that's like, wow.
What a downer.
I know, big downer. And then we will also find out that the Cobra nerve gas is actually a stink bomb.
Yep.
And which again is like a, massive lols. And then after that, we find out what the point of this whole thing was. It was all distraction. It was to keep the Joes off the scent of what they really wanted to do, which was kind of connect into the phone lines and basically make a ton of money by operating a Cobra switchboard. That's it.
Basically, Zorana says, we're going to make millions. And then, like you say, you cut to a load of Cobra operators who are taking all these calls. $49.95 cash, check or money order. And then, you have been chosen as a finalist and are eligible to win $1 million. All you have to do is send us... ... Yeah. There's another one, which
is...
Get
one free, mail
Get
us.
One free. $29.99 to cover postage and handling, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to make millions from this, apparently. But, I don't want to spend too much longer talking about this issue.
No worries.
And I'm just going to give it a 5. There you go.
I'm going to... You see, I know you hate Spearhead and Max. I actually do.
No, I don't hate them, but just he looks and feels like a bit of a Dusty-ish / Footloose clone with a bobcat. Just not necessary for me.
Yeah, well, for me, I mean, I love the character and Max. I think they're really cool, but... In this issue, what's the point of them? Like, they're not using their specialties.
Tunnel rat, yes. Airtight, yes.
Yeah. Charbrawl even. And that's dangerous in a sewer. I mean, a sewer's filled with all sorts of gases. You let off a blooming flamethrower and everyone's going up. So I thought that was a bit of an odd choice as well. The fact that Spearhead and Max are there is just because he's squeezing them in to give them airtime. But all Max does really is one near the beginning he tips them off to a threat which is already buggered anyway because Tunnel Rat's popped his head round the corner. So that negates any help he could have been there, and then he doesn't die during the nerve gas thing. So it's like, okay, well, we know we're okay, we're safe. And it's like you don't take a bobcat down there during like nerve gas and stuff just to make sure you're going to be safe. Like it just seems a bit odd. So yeah, I agree with you, and I'm going to go 5 as well.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that wraps up the issues this week. So staying on the G.I. Joe theme, we of course need to have a little section called Chris Talks Toys.
Chris Talks Toys. Dun, dun, dun. This week, I have been mostly talking Cobra Wolf. Supplied with the Ice Viper, of course, as well, because I just think it's an absolute beauty. I had this as a kid and loved all the features. I'll point it out early doors. My only real downer was how the cockpits kind of connected, because for my one specifically as well, like it was really stiff to actually get back in place, and it didn't really sit. Like you had to keep messing with it for it to sit perfectly. I'm not sure if other people have had that same issue, but that was my only downer on this. It was just a little bit, and let's face it, you'd rather have a stiff cockpit. You'd rather have a stiff cockpit than a loose one.
A flaccid one, yeah.
Exactly. In any case, packed full of features. Again, like I said, it came out in the US in 87, and it was on our store shelves in 89, so we got it a couple of years later. And I say a couple of years, but it's probably more likely just over a year, because it would have been, sometimes they come out late 87 and then early 89, so you're not talking that long, really, a lot of the time. But it just sounds like a long time because of the use of years and not months.
Attacking on snow and ice, the Cobra Wolf with twin laser cannons and special ski torpedoes.
It's the Techno Viper.
Cobra Wolf is vicious on ice and snow and hot on the trail of G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe,
Live the adventure of G.I. Joe, Cobra Sea Ray, Cobra Wolf, and other vehicles and figures sold separately.
It was a toy I think I had for Christmas or birthday, and I remember just loving it. And the Ice Viper was cool, but the features on the actual toy were brilliant. Like I said, you had 2 cockpit spots, so you could have 2 figures sitting inside the vehicle. The Ice Viper would drive, and then you could have anyone else you wanted in there. Any other, like Snow Serpents or someone along those lines would be really cool for this vehicle. I was surprised that you get like Toxo Vipers and stuff in that issue. That was the only... I was kind of like, why? But again, I think it would have been great to see some more of the Cobra winter specialists in that situation. Not that there are many. And then and obviously you've got this kind of rotating kind of double gun, which kind of gets in the way of the top cockpit, but obviously can be swiveled around easily for that to be opened, so it's no big deal. It has these incredible snow ski missile kind of torpedo things which are cool, which would fire on like off the top to the right of the cockpit, or to the left as you look at it face on. And they would slide into these little kind of sections, so they were really cool. And underneath that, there was like this kind of missile rack, which you could poke up and it would be exposed, and you could slide out the 4 red missiles that kind of locked in. You could see the locking mechanism on from the top as you closed it, because they'd poke out and they'd be red. The front would have this kind of like flexible up and down, these kind of skis at the front, which would act as like a stabilizer, I would suggest. It also had this kind of like half tracks on each side, but then on either side of those, you had skis anyway, which connected and came out with little foot pegs on, so they were almost like skis for figures, which were really cool as well. So you had all these like beautiful little touches and features and stuff, and you could fit loads of characters on the Cobra Wolf. It was loads of fun. And a vehicle that I, basically fell in love with. The Ice Viper that he came with, let's go through his UK file card. Cobra Wolf driver. Ice Vipers are the mechanised branch of the Snow Serpents, both of which must first qualify as Cobra Eels. They must take the additional training of Techno Vipers and be prepared to service and repair their own vehicles in hostile Arctic environments. Ice Vipers are fed a special high-fat diet to help retain body heat and have their faces depilated to prevent frost from their breath icing up their beards.
Nice.
When it's 40 degrees below zero on the tundra and everybody is buttoned up tight in their shelter because an ice storm is blowing in from the north, that's when you have to worry about the ice vipers sneaking up on you. Out there in the big whiteness, there isn't any place to hide. Whoever bundles up first because he figures it's too cold to fight loses.
They're basically techno vipers and eels with also Arctic training.
Yes.
Amazing.
One thing I used to like about the actual figure was not necessarily like about the figure, but used to find really intriguing, was the fact they were given size. And those size would clip to the side of their body. So, like, Raphael's weapons from the Turtles.
Yeah.
Really weird choice of, especially like the Cobra eels and Techno vipers and now they're ice vipers. And they've been given ninja weapons, I find, quite intriguing. In any case,
when
it's
did
not
they
mentioned.
think they were ever going to use those in combat? I don't know.
Really weird. But they amazingly clipped on the side of their legs and made again for an awesome feature on a driver. The helmet is removable and it kind of covers half their face. It's almost like regular Cobra Trooper helmet with then goggles pulled down.
Yep.
So it kind of means that you can have this kind of like very cool looking goggled up look, or you could take that off and they've got that kind of red balaclava on. And interestingly enough, the Ice Viper, I remember thinking that the figure actually looked quite feminine. I know that's going to sound weird, but like they had almost like a rather protruding chest area. And I used to think, well, it could be either female or male figure. And, you could disagree with me on that, listeners out there, totally. But it just had that feel to me, like it could have been either or. So you could use it as a female or a male operative. And I used to find that quite interesting. And my Ice Viper as a kid was a female in my head.
Okay, there you go.
And that's pure conjecture. Interestingly enough, it does mention as well on Blood for the Baron that the Ice Vipers were released in 1988. So it could be that the actual Cobra Wolf, obviously it had to come out with the Cobra Wolf, it could be that could be a typo and it could have been an 88 release. So I personally believe it probably straddled both years around Christmas, and that's why there's a bit of conjecture up there. Either way, we got it, after the US got it. One more thing I want to say is that the boxes for the UK version and the UK Action Force release and the US G.I. Joe release are almost identical, with the similar differences as there's not as much small print, and you get a fake window box for the figure to show off the figure, as opposed to the Americans, which had the actual real window box that showed off the actual figure. So the box art's gorgeous. It's like one of my favourite. Again, another big favourite kind of pieces of art. You've got the Ice Viper and Crocmaster behind him, so an even weirder choice.
Yep.
And on the side, hugging one of the sides of the Cobra Wolf that's on show, is a Techno Viper, interestingly enough.
Ah, yes. Nice.
So carry on. All finished now.
No, I was just going to say, I never had it, or even I have never seen it in person, but from the comic it always looked really cool.
Oh, I loved it. Yeah, it was great.
Great looking vehicle, and that's given me much more appreciation for the Ice Viper now, just knowing that Filecast stuff. Quality sounds like a cool dude.
Or dudette.
Or dudette, yes, indeed. I imagine yours was called Leslie. Which is also a male or female name.
That's a genius. Genius. You're a genius,
yes,
Chief.
There you go. Well, it's been said before by you just then.
By me.
Chris will be talking about more toys next week. I always look forward to that segment. But now we have to go over to British colloquialisms, a.k.a. over-egging the pudding.
We got a pudding, we're gonna egg it. We got a pudding, we're gonna over-egg it. We got a pudding, we got no criticisms. That means it's time for some British colloquialisms.
And this week, the phrase that I heard used in a conversation was with someone who had recently, this is someone at work, they just painted their shed possibly with even Ronseal, which was does what it says on the tin.
That's for next week.
Afterwards, they had said they were really chuffed to bits, not to be confused with Up the Chuff, obviously, but chuffed to bits, which basically means really pleased. It was a really good job. Well done. Chuffed to bits.
Yeah, chuffed is as well on its own. I'm chuffed about that as well. Yeah. Like it's one of those ones. It's like, even when I hear it, when I say it and Americans are in the vicinity, I always go, "Ooh, they're gonna think I mean something like, you've been stuffed with something rude."
Yes.
Which a lot of our British colloquialisms seem to kind of operate around. They all of them sound really rude, don't they?
Yeah.
Which leads me to mine, which doesn't necessarily sound rude, but it did confuse the crap out of a lot of Americans.
Go on.
And that's the term "fit as a butcher's dog."
Fit as a butcher's dog. Nice.
Which my dad used to say all the time, and I would have, I picked up at an early age, and I've used it in the States in the past, and you just get the funniest looks because no one wants to say, "What are you talking about?" They always feel a bit too rude to say it. Some people will, but for the most part, it's like no one's gonna argue with fit as a butcher's dog, which just means very fit because butcher's dogs are tended to have very good. Owners that would feed them a lot of good food and keep them exercise and give them lots of exercise. I don't know the full history. I just made that up based on what it means.
Well, my mum's a butcher, and it's in her side of the family. My granddad, her dad, when he came back from the war, he was in Sicily, and about 50 years ago, he started up a butcher's shop. In our local town of Verwood in Dorset, and
awesome.
Yeah, my mum worked there from the age of 16 onwards, and my uncle took over the shop when my granddad retired. And he had a dog. My uncle, he was an Alsatian, and he was always very fit. So there you go. Adds credence to the story.
And also, just to add the origin of the phrase, the allusion to a butcher's dog is to a dog that would be expected to be very well fed from scraps. Why that is considered to epitomise fitness isn't clear, as it might be thought more likely that the dog would be overweight than fit.
Yeah. We don't worry about that. We just worry about the saying. Yeah. Good stuff. There'll be more sayings and phrases that Americans have no idea what we're talking about next week. But this show is full of segments because we've got another one coming up. This is the last segment of the show, and it is, of course,
Chief asked Chris a question. Chief asked Chris a question. What'll he say? What'll he do when Chief asks Chris a question?
Are you, my friend, are you a pizza man?
Yes. But
okay.
Something I haven't actually
That's not
divulged.
the question. That's not the actual question, by the way.
Okay. I'll get to it in my answer then. Go on then.
Okay. So it's a twofold question. Number one, I don't know if you make pizzas, but let's just say you're feeling lazy. You're going to order a takeaway pizza. What is your takeaway pizza brand of choice? And the second question is, you can only put 3 toppings on the pizza. What are those 3 toppings?
Okay.
And the toppings aren't cheese or tomato.
Got you. Okay, so I have to premise this massively.
Yep.
Now, something I haven't divulged on the show as yet, and that maybe some people will know from the Full Force, I'm not sure if you've even mentioned it on there, is that I'm actually dairy-free. So, and the reason for that is because my wife, Kate, is allergic to a lot of dairy products. And we were kind of, when we first got together, just for ease, I decided to go vegan with my wife. And but the thing is, we're not vegan, okay? So, but we started. Well, Kate used to be, and I started off in the marriage that way. Now, the reason for that was a lot of different reasons. One, I fancied trying it out anyway, and 2, my wife is the most incredible cook in the it's ridiculous. She can make so many things, and it's just amazing, including pizzas. Now, we love pizzas, but the problem is, just recently we've shifted from veganism now to, because we like fish, so we'll eat fish. Okay. So we can't say we're vegans, okay? So before everyone gets on my back and says all sorts of stuff, oh, you're a vegan, whatever, just you. Anyway, it's my life. I'll do what the I want with it. Now,
I'm trying to be a pescatarian, and I ate 10 burgers the other day. So,
anyway. So basically, we switched to like you say, a pescatarian diet. Basically, but also dairy free. It's very confusing.
Okay,
it's very picky. But what we end up doing is Kate makes these incredible pizzas, and this is probably going to get even more heat. But I am a massive fan of pickles. Now, the little kind of sweet chip pickles that you get, I'm a massive fan of them, right? And I said to her one night, I said, honey, I know this is going to sound really weird in bed as well, we were at the time, and she probably got really worried at this stage. Like, oh my God, what the hell is he going to ask me?
Make me an all-pickle pizza.
I said, I want a pickle pizza on barbecue sauce base. And she was like, that sounds mental, but I'll do it for you because I love you. So it was like, okay, great. So she makes this, and the other thing is, obviously, a lot of allergies on Kate's side of the family. I don't really have that. I mean, I have some allergies, but for the most part, when it comes to food, it's just, for me, it's just no spice, because if I have spicy things, like really spicy things, they just shoot straight through me. So there's even more information for you guys.
Excellent.
Now, in terms of the pizza, I love that she made this pickle pizza with cheese, dire cheese, like the kind of vegan cheese, on a gluten-free base. So it has like nothing in it that makes a pizza usually.
Yep.
And this barbecue base with a stuffed crust of this cheese, which is unreal, by the way. Like, you wouldn't know the difference. And I can say that because I've had both. And pickles all over it. And it was absolutely sublime. So that was one of my favourite pizzas of all time. All pickles, barbecue base. Trust me. I don't care if you don't like it. It's amazing. Anyway, next up, you asked me what three...
Yeah, 3 toppings on a pizza. What are your 3 toppings? So
also,
pickles is one.
You can hate this as well. Like, Pizza Hut do vegan cheese in the UK. So if I had to choose a takeaway one, I would do a Pizza Hut one, and I would have on it. So in the US, we don't have that option, unfortunately. But in the UK, I would have Hawaiian on barbecue base. Can you believe that? Can you believe that?
Yes, I can.
Well, that was my choice in the UK, and that should give you all the information you need to know. Everyone's going to hate me because I've just said pickles. I've said pineapple
with barbecue.
None of it's meat based. I know the Hawaiian has ham on it, but I would obviously have the vegan replacement.
Yep. Okay. Good stuff. There'll be
loaded question. Fully loaded.
There'll be another question for Chris next week. Will it be pop culture? Will it be food based? Who knows? I don't even know because I haven't even thought of the question yet.
It's probably food based.
Yes, because I did. Because I had. If you weren't a pizza man, I had a backup food question. So you'll probably get the other food question next week.
Can Chris ask Chief a question quickly?
Never. Yes, of course you can.
What's your favourite pizza?
I'm a big anchovy man. So,
lovely. I also like anchovies, yeah.
I like anchovies. I like pepper dews, which are kind of a sweet bell pepper.
Yep.
Kind of a pickled sweet bell pepper.
Sounds lovely.
Anchovies, maybe some sun-dried tomatoes.
My goodness, it sounds great.
And a real good dusting of herbs.
Well, you've gone up in my estimation. I'm glad I didn't hear margarita or...
yeah.
That's a hugely pretentious pizza covering as well. I love
it. Oh, yes, yeah. In fact, I'm probably going to have one. Oh, hot damn, this is I did not get chips and curry sauce because it's not a Wednesday. So what am I going to do? I'm probably going to have to go and buy some now, right after this show finishes. But when you're listening to the show, don't forget to go and get your chips and curry sauce ready, or your anchovy / pepper dew / herbs.
Stop slashing on your pizza,
or the pickle pizza that Chris mentioned. But
apologies to everyone, but I'm not really apologising.
With that in mind, that is now the end of all the segments. The only segments left is to tell you which, if you want to do your homework for next week, you can do that. You can read Special Missions 22, 23, 24 and 25. This is not what I told Chris earlier today, so again, I'm springing that on him. So it's 22, 23, 24 and 25 for Special Missions. Catch us in all the usual places. That's Talking_Joe on Twitter, Talking Joe Comics on Instagram, TalkingJoeComics@gmail.com, or Talking Joe, a G.I. Joe podcast on the Facebook. Where can the people find you, good sir?
Diagnostic 80 on most things, DIAGNOSTIK 80. And of course, Full Force, the Full Force podcast, the Full Force on pretty much everything: Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. Hit us up.
Yeah. If you like us, leave a review, give us 5 stars and all that jazz. Helps bump us up the rankings. Gets more people listening. So, with that said and done, we will catch you down the road.
Bye.